Hello and happy Friday, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning into LindellTV. My name is Allison Steinberg, and you are watching DC Live. We have a very special edition of DC Live for you today on this very exciting Friday. It's been such a busy week here at the White House, so we are going to spend the next half hour wrapping up the latest and really hitting hard on the fake news because they deserve this. Okay, I just want you all to know they are cruel people who do nothing but spread lies and misinformation. So now it's time for them to face the wrath of Allison and Christy Lee. That's right, we're gonna have our very own Christy Lee on to help us break down the latest fake news headlines that are in the news today. Christy, thanks so much for being with us. It's great to see you. How are you?
I'm doing great. And you know, Allison, it is so hard to keep up with the fake news. There's just so much of it. I used to actually do a segment called Media Malfeasance over on InfoWars. And it was supposed to be like, maybe like 2-minute segment. But I was like, oh my gosh, I have like 8 minutes. And then I just kind of backed off of it because people realized, I mean, it was just so much. It was so obvious at that point, just kind of ran its course. But I think that we could use a refresher because we see that it is an all-out nosedive, right? Wild spectacle to see. And I thought it would be worthy of working on a list of names and examples of people that are going down. And, you know, even with that, I'm sure I'm missing some. So if as I go through this, you think of somebody, please contribute. But of course, you and I most recently know of Stephen Colbert, the Late Show wrapping up by May of 2026. Most people are blaming Trump himself as if he was able to like wave a magic wand and like get him off the news, but it is really due to the lack of money coming in. But want to be circling back to the lack of money as we go through this because many are tying the USAID cuts to just a total downfall, not only in liberal news media, but also just the Democratic Party itself. So it's kind of really showing that this was a slush fund. But I also want to draw attention to the fact that another recent exit is that fake fact checker, Glenn Kessler, right? He worked for Washington Post. I don't remember. He was the one that did the Pinocchios, and he was always trying to add all those Pinocchios to Trump or anybody else, but then would completely ignore, of course, Biden's many Pinocchios and flubs conveniently. Yeah. But I think I was like, what are the biggest examples? And here's a few of the examples of Glenn Kessler. He said in 2019 that millions of Americans work multiple jobs, and he gave that a 3 Pinocchios rating. So he was saying, oh, no, that's not right, because obviously people working multiple jobs would look bad for the Biden administration. And then he argued it was misleading. And that's another one. We always saw fact checkers saying misleading instead of just false or whatever, like they would just use these semantics. But he said it was misleading, but that was despite Bureau of Labor Statistics data showing nearly 8 million people with multiple jobs. So I don't know like how he got away with this kind of stuff. It's just absolutely right. Like crazy. And then, of course, our favorite, right? Trump's fine people. I mean, how many times have we heard that parroted, Allison?
Oh,
so
just too
Kessler is one that, he is one that repeatedly rated Trump's Charlottesville fine people comment as, you know, true. But despite there was video evidence showing that he did condemn them while noting that some protesters were not extremists. So there's that's the biggest Dem propagandist move that there was. And then, of course, COVID origins hoax. Here's another guy that downplayed Trump's claims of a lab leak in Wuhan, labeling them unproven, but obviously later evidence showed that. You know, we were just talking to our colleague, Emerald Robinson, about this, who she said she'd be in that briefing room talking about how, it's pretty obvious where this came from, Wuhan, and that there would be other people in the White House press corps being like, oh, conspiracy theorist. And boy, it's wild to get on the other side of that, right?
It is amazing. I mean, because you touched on that, Christy, I wanted to let the viewers know how brutal these fake news outlets are. And yeah, I'm saying that here on the White House lawn where they're all probably hearing me, but it's okay because, they do nothing but lie. And so we're here to tell the truth. That's why LindellTV is here. But yeah, I was in the White House press briefing room just the other day, and you and I, in fact, were doing a hit at the time that we got moved in there because it started, torrential downpouring in this crazy swamp. So we had to rush inside. But more or less what happened was these fake news outlets were they were intently listening into our conversation that we were having, regarding getting illegal immigrants out of the country. I don't know why that's a controversial subject, but many people in that room were very upset about it. They apparently were listening in. They were mocking me. They were talking, badly about me. And so it just goes to show, that even though they perpetuate these ridiculous lies, you would think, oh, well, maybe, at heart, they're good people. I don't think they're good people. I think they're just miserable people who are paid off by their big media outlets to push this narrative, and they have no shame in doing it. And it's ridiculous. And I think they need to be called out.
It's very Mean Girl-esque, right? And I think it goes to show that these people have an elitist attitude. They're not like normal people. And it shows the value in coming from a position of humility. When we, different circumstances, like I myself came from mainstream and it just was like, wow, all of these things are lies. And of course I was ridiculed for that, which can be humbling. But then, that's such a good experience because it's like, okay, well, I'm with the people. Like I am no better than the people. The people are calling for there to be truth. And I'm going to, even in the face of ridicule, I'm going to speak the truth and expose these conflicts of interest of sponsorships of the media. So of course we can't say anything bad about Pfizer or anything like that because the news is sponsored by Pfizer. Yeah. But I think that does show the value of coming from a place of having to be humble. These people are going to have to eat their humble pies and hopefully they'll come back on the other side. That just makes me think of Chris Cuomo. He had just posted this video saying like, I'm wrong. I was wrong. And like he goes on and on. He's like, I think there's value in people recognizing that they got some things wrong. And so, I can respect that. Anybody that wants to go and finally admit that they were wrong, great. then maybe, just maybe, you will build some trust back. But I don't think we're going to ever get that from people like Rachel Madcow, right? She's another example of someone who got cut in her show. And it was right along with Joy Reid, another one that just nonstop would ridicule Trump and act like he's this racist while donning his hairdo. Let's be honest. Like she's always wearing this ridiculous blonde wig while she's trying to insult Trump. I never understood that. She had a 47% drop before they were like, yeah, you got to go. And of course she says it's racism. And it's like, no, there was a 47% drop in your ratings. It has nothing to do with the color of your skin, lady. Don Lemon also getting axed. Don Lemon, of course, coming to her defense, acting like this was something that has to do with skin color. He actually went long before Joy Reid. And he obviously tried to make independent podcasting work. Is that guy even still doing it anymore? I don't even know. Have we
That's a great question.
Don Lemon?
I haven't heard from Don Lemon in quite some time now that you mention it. I kind of forgot about him, to be honest with you.
Yes. Let's not forget about mean, psychotic girl Taylor Lorenz. She couldn't even keep her job at Washington Post, one of the biggest defenders of spreading lies and liberalism. So she was out. We've got an example of Taylor Tomlinson. He bowed out of After Midnight in March of this year when CBS canceled it. Then we've got Hassan Minhaj. Maybe he's part of the radical Islamist crew that we were talking about the other day. I'm not sure. But he quit MSNBC in January of last year, actually, after his show's cancellation. And so those are the examples I came up. There's probably so many more. But going back to the USAID link, USAID shut down. It's $9 billion cut, killed off international news funding that outlets like MSNBC, PBS, and even late night relied on. And Variety.com says that loss left late night scripts thin. And with public broadcasting losing $1 billion, these giants, they're just staggering. It's like watching a house of cards fall in real time. So we do think that there is a connection there with the cutting of USAID, really exposing that this was all a propaganda machine. I also wanted to side note that it is weird that the DNC's cash on hand is also way down after cutting USAID. I don't know if you saw in Politico, but Politico had that the RNC has $81 million of cash on hand, and the DNC has just $15 million of cash on hand. It's like, what happened, guys? Where'd all your money go, right?
Wow, yeah, that is incredible. I think that's very telling. Ever since the exposure of USAID through the Doge team, I mean, so much corruption has been exposed, and the truth is finally coming to light on all this stuff. I mean, it's amazing to watch these outlets and things like the DNC just totally crumble, since we now know who's funding all of this. I mean, this has been an orchestrated move that's been funded by all the powers that be for years and years and years. And for so long, sadly, people just bought into the narrative because they believed, oh, well, this is on the news, so it must be true. Oh, this is what the experts are telling us, so it must be real. I mean, everything is coming out now. I don't know who actually buys into this anymore. Obviously not many, given the fact that all these shows are being canceled and taken off the air. So clearly the fake news is doing horribly, to the point where they're now getting canceled, and it's outlets like LindellTV that are now rising and gaining more traction. Free speech platforms like X that allow us to actually speak freely without censorship and backlash from the control oligarchs that dictate what you're allowed to say and what you're not allowed to say. So it is amazing to see this tide sort of turning here. It also makes me wonder, though, do you think that we can continue on this upward trajectory, or do you think that we have to be concerned, Christy, that, the powers that be, ultimately these very powerful globalists, could potentially swing the pendulum back in the other direction, and, we lose this momentum that we've sort of gained in the time being? What do you think?
Well, I think that's a great thing to point out, because I think that we have an opportunity right now, one that we shouldn't lose out on. And I mean, this does require a lot of heavy reflection. When I left mainstream media and started trying to bring the truth and not have those conflicts of interest, people accused me of like, oh, well, you're just swinging the pendulum the other way. Now you're just doing right-sided news, as opposed to, which is funny, because it's like, on the one hand, that was an acknowledgement that the mainstream was toward the left, right?
Yeah.
But they're like, oh, how are you any better if you're going to bring things from a right view? And for me, the way that I had settled that for myself is like, okay, if we're looking at things of a pendulum and everything has been so extreme far left and lies, then for me to not only bring in the truth, but even maybe be a little bit more favorable to bringing things from the right side perspective, I am still feeling good about myself as far as balancing out the pendulum. I want to amplify the voices that have been silenced, thereby bringing about balance. But I don't think you can, if I'm being honest, I don't think that you can, which of course I'm going to be honest, I don't think you can have that, stick with that argument forever. I mean, as more and more left news media outlet dies, and we don't want to become our own echo chamber, if you know what I mean. Yeah. We don't want to fall victim to being like, okay, yes, now we're just going to say everything that we agree with, or amplify things that are positive to this administration and ignore negative things. And I mean, so far, I think that we have not shied away of being critical of this Trump administration when it is necessary. I mean, yeah. I think there's a difference between being critical for the sake of being critical, which we always see with like people like Caitlin Collins, for example. Yeah. Like, she's always going to be critical. If you're being critical for the sake of being critical, then obviously that's bias. But we have a responsibility to be critical to some degree. No matter who's in power, whether we like them or we don't like them, there is a responsibility there to be willing to be critical. And so I think that it's going to be a gut check for a lot of us moving forward, now that the pendulum is evening out, if you will. Yeah, I think that we have an opportunity here that we don't want to waste. We don't want to become like our enemies, right?
Yeah, no, that's such a great point. I'm so glad you brought that up, because I even feel like on the right, so often things start feeling like an echo chamber. You know, you have these standard accounts on Twitter like Cat Turd and Libs of TikTok and all these ones that just repeat the same information. And basically with that, you know, many of these larger accounts really feel that Trump can do no wrong. And even if you point out things that, you know, should be criticized, they then come after you, just like the left does. It's very reminiscent of how liberals act oftentimes
Yes.
now, I'm finding.
Yes.
I think we need to be able to have open conversations. We are all for free speech, right? And we should be able to point things out and call the president out when things aren't going the correct way, when things are that we voted for are not happening. And we should be able to have these conversations without the backlash from conservatives. I feel like that is still, for some reason, a touchy issue. And I feel like, you know, it's tough to do that sometimes, because a lot of people will come after you. But one issue that has actually, I think, been acceptable to criticize is most recently Epstein. A lot of MAGA has come forward, even some unsuspecting characters, ones that have been very pro-Trump, have come out and said that this has not been the right handling of this. We also now have this Russiagate issue that is, I think we can all agree on, was, you know, orchestrated and intended to prevent President Trump from coming into office. And, you know, it was weaponized against all of us, really. Now the truth is coming to light on that. But I mean, I think we're seeing in the polls, Rasmussen is outlining here, the public believes Russiagate was serious, but few expect a reckoning. I think the ultimate determining factor that would ultimately bring not only MAGA, but potentially both sides together is to see accountability. Do you think, Chrissy, we'll see accountability for Epstein, Russiagate? I mean, we want these arrests to happen, and until they do, it's just going to sound like it's all talk. What do you think about that? How do you see this playing out?
Well, I think that the problem that we have is that true Republicans, true conservatives simply are not liberal leftist Democrats, which means that they are going to approach things in a different way. They're going to approach things more diplomatically. They're not going to be cutthroat, as much as some people would like to see that vengeance and retaliation. So on the one side, you can see that as admirable, see that as, okay, let's get to a place of being more diplomatic and being able to move forward. And on the other hand, you can see it as, if we don't see very hard accountability, then this will just continue to happen, and this could happen in a future administration, and we certainly don't want that. So there's two sides, I think, to how we appropriately move forward. It's recognizing the reactions of taking actions. If the heavy hand does come down, how much civil unrest would that cause? Would we be opening up ourselves for some kind of a national security concern? I think these are the things that are really being weighed out, appropriately so, where we saw our crazy leftist counterparts just running ahead and not caring about the consequences, only just gripping with a stranglehold to their power. These are things that are going to be thought of with more of a responsibility, if you will. And I think that that's frustrating to some degree, because we want things to happen yesterday, right? But yeah, I think that's the tough call here is the difference in being in approaching these things responsibly, as opposed to with an emotional, reactionary type responses. That being said, I know, Allison, we're getting about halfway through of our time together, or a little bit over. So definitely want to talk to you about not just the feelings, but how this has been an operation, how they've been able to continue to feed the people lies for so long. So let's take a quick break. And then when we come back, let's talk about Operation Mockingbird, still in full effect, which is wild. So let's take a break.
All right, I'll be right back.
The last time President Trump was in office, gold soared 50% and silver went up a huge 53%. Americans who invested in silver and gold during Donald Trump's first presidency are very happy that they did it. And right now, gold continues to soar to the highest numbers in history. These gains are just an appetizer for what's to come. Some market analysis are saying that gold is predicted to rise another 30% in the next year alone. So now's the time to invest in gold and silver, and that's why I partnered with Fisher Liberty Gold. Fisher Liberty Gold is a conservative-owned and operated precious metals investment company. They even helped my good friend President Trump get elected through their contributions to Turning Point USA and other conservative groups. I have dedicated my life to ensuring that people get the best sleep ever, and in addition to owning a MyPillow, I can now sleep well at night knowing that you can all protect your savings with precious metals with Fisher Liberty Gold. With Fisher Liberty Gold, you can sleep well knowing that your retirement is secure. And if you call now, you're going to receive your very own presidential gold guide and qualify for up to $20,000 in free silver. But wait, there's more. Call now or text metals to 26786 to receive your presidential gold guide from Fisher Liberty. And for a limited time, I will send you a free MyPillow for qualified accounts. This presidential gold guide from Fisher Liberty will tell you exactly why you need to own gold even while Donald Trump is president. And just by calling in, you get a free MyPillow for a limited time for qualified accounts and up to $20,000 in free silver. So don't wait. Call 1-888-4GOLD-19 or text metals to 26786 today. That's 1-888-4GOLD-19 or text metals to 26786 today to receive your free MyPillow and up to $20,000 in free silver. Whether it's being a weekend warrior or spending time with your family.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to this hour of DC Live. Thank you so much for tuning into LindellTV. My name is Allison Steinberg, and we have our very own Christy Lee with us. Christy, thanks so much for sticking around. Prior to the break, we were discussing how the Mockingbird media is so influential in the mainstream narrative that's parroted out to everyone and then, considered the real news. Tulsi Gabbard recently just confirmed that Operation Mockingbird, which is a CIA operation, is still alive and well. It's happening as we speak. What more can you tell us about this?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty wild. I mean, I think that we felt that way, but this would explain why there's not more of a change, because when you see all these ratings go down, when you see even our own president making predictions of who will be next, he after Stephen Colbert, he's saying, like, will it be Jimmy Kimmel? Then it'll be Jimmy Fallon. And then, I mean, there's just so many examples of how this clearly isn't working, but yet it's perpetuated. So Tulsi Gabbard was on Benny Johnson's show, and she confirmed that, Project Mockingbird's still a thing. Let's watch.
Push propaganda, and it's still happening today.
This is why what we're doing is so important, Benny, and this is why President Trump's mandate in this is really critical, is by exposing the truth, by exposing the bad actors within the intelligence community and in the political space who are weaponizing intelligence to advance their own political interests, is so important to be able to turn the light on in places that have been dark for far too long, expose the truth, and drive accountability. That's the only way that we can actually shift this and begin the work to try to restore trust in the intelligence community.
So,
That's
I mean,
amazing.
since that appearance, she has said that they are working on rooting this out, putting an end to Project Mockingbird.
Well, yeah, I mean, that has to happen at this point. What needs to happen moving forward? I mean, do they just fire everyone and make everyone reapply and do some super strict, review process before bringing new people in? I mean, how do you even begin to weed out this corruption? Because we know it runs very deep.
Yeah, absolutely. And somebody's still funding some of this stuff, because I don't know if you saw this, Allison, but The View, that is only literally one view that they have in that show, is even more confirmed as it's now been reported that not not a single conservative guest has graced it in all of this year. 100%
Wow.
liberal lineup, according to the Media Research Center. So despite ABC
Amazing.
promising to balance things post-Trump's win, 100% really of one view. I mean, why don't they just call it one view? I mean, I guess, I don't know. It's how is this even surviving, right?
It is
How many
absolutely
lawsuits have they
pathetic.
had to face?
Maybe they should do a rebranding, and that could perhaps give them a chance at survival. But I don't know. It's not looking very good for one view. That's brilliant. That's what I'm going to call it from now on. Christy, there's so much more I could talk to you about, but we're actually out of time for now. Thank you so much for joining us to weigh in and update us on all these fake news headlines. We really appreciate it. And I believe, are you going to be on next with Kara Castronova?
Yep. Holding over.
All righty. Well, that does it for my half hour of DC Live. Stay tuned. We'll have Kara Castronova up with more with Christy Lee on DC Live here on LindellTV. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you guys soon.
Whether it's being a weekend warrior or spending time with your family, feeling your best is the key to doing the things you love. That's why I'm excited to tell you about Nirvanta. It's a natural solution designed to help you stay active and live well naturally. Nirvanta is a topical blend of all natural essential oils like frankincense, myrrh, and a proprietary gold standard plant stock extract. It's perfect for your hands, feet, knees, back, or anywhere else that needs a little extra care. Use Nirvanta proactively as part of your daily maintenance routine, and you're guaranteed you're going to feel the difference. Simply massage Nirvanta in for at least 60 seconds, 2 to 3 times a day to get the best results. And if you're not completely satisfied, you get your money back. No questions asked. There's simply no risk and no reason not to try Nirvanta today. Right now, you get 15% off with code Lindell exclusively at nirvantahealth.com. So stop reaching out for that medicine cabinet. Get Nirvanta instead and experience the difference. Go to nirvantahealth.com. Use code Lindell to get 15% off today. Nirvanta Health. Live well naturally. If you want to feel and look your best, you need to check out Pure Health Research. They have 45 premium health supplements that are designed to help you with everyday health goals. Whether it's boosting your energy or trimming belly fat, supporting healthy blood sugar, pumping your testosterone up, or even reducing swelling in your legs, Pure Health Research Supplement Store has you covered. Each formula is crafted with natural, non-GMO ingredients, backed by clinical research and manufactured right here in the USA. And here's the best part. Pure Health Research is offering you an exclusive 35% discount. Just go to purehealthresearch.com and use promo code Lindell at checkout. With their 365-day money-back guarantee, there's nothing to lose. So head over to purehealthresearch.com now, explore their 45 amazing supplements, and save 35% before this deal ends with promo code Lindell. Swollen limbs, joint pain, inflammation, skin aging, and cognitive decline. These are just a few of the awful side effects that you can experience due to poor blood circulation. And popping ibuprofen is not a solution to the pain. It's only temporary relief, and it's only masking the true problem, which is inflammation. Researchers are saying to add this Antarctic super nutrient to your diet. I'm talking about omega-3 fatty acids. But not just any form of omegas. These particular omega-3 fatty acids are sourced from wild-caught krill. Has been shown to support healthy blood pressure, circulation, brain health, as well as reduce inflammation, swelling, and joint pain. For a limited time, you can grab Native Path Antarctic Krill Oil for up to 66% off plus free shipping. Just go to getkrill.com/Lindell right now to get your special offer. With everybody talking about making America healthy again, I thought today'd be a great day to talk to all my fellow patriots about the importance of making your homes healthy again. Well, we have proudly partnered with airwaterhealing.com and their revolutionary whole home air purification system. The V3 from Air Water Healing does 3,000 square feet of purification. It eliminates dust, mold, viruses, and odors. But here's the part I love. They require no filters to ever be changed and virtually no maintenance. Whether you suffer from asthma, allergies, seasonal bronchitis, or just want to protect your family from the flu or even greater threats, don't wait to get your V3 from airwaterhealing.com today. Use code Lindell for 20% off in savings and free shipping. That's promo code Lindell at airwaterhealing.com.
Hey, this is DC Live. I'm Christy Lee as a special guest today. Actually, I didn't even know I was going to be entering this. This is Kara's thing, so I'm not sure why I'm starting this off. Kara, come on in here. This is your show, DC Live. You and Allison, if you can come in when you're ready. But we're going to be talking about, there she is. We're going to be talking about this president's revival of fitness, actual fitness, unbelievable in America. So Kara, what can you tell us about this new EO?
Trump, and it kind of got swept a little bit under the rug in the news cycle because it happened at the end of the day, signed an executive order regarding fitness, sports, and nutrition. Obviously, Robert Kennedy Jr. is a huge influence on President Trump. He was there along with a bunch of professional athletes that will now serve on the new fitness board for the president and report to the president. It's predominantly a board of unpaid people that, just love this country and really want to see it succeed, especially the next generation, make them healthier. So that is obviously something that the president ran a platform on, and I'm glad to see that they're doing all of these things. So the executive order really calls for, if we could pull that executive order up, and if we don't have it, it's fine, but it would be nice for the people to see it. That was sent out last evening, the details on that. And I did a little bit of research, on what a fitness test really is. So what the president is really doing is he's obviously making fitness a priority again and making sports a priority again. And obviously the next generation has to be strong because they're the next workforce that's going to be taking care of us old people, obviously, and they're going to be the next military. And it's really not a good look when record levels of obesity, record levels of mental health decline, and so many diseases like childhood obesity. What is this saying, obviously, for the next generation? So this initiative is really, really needed. And there's going to be a reinforcement of the physical fitness test that was actually phased out in 2012 under Obama. I have some talking points here that I was looking into. Why did Obama phase out that physical fitness test that was around for so many years? And really, it's because it goes back to the whole Democrat mentality of, we don't want competition, it's too competitive, we don't want kids to feel bad, no medals, like everybody gets a medal type of mentality, so there shouldn't be competition. So that was really the mentality behind that, and we saw where that went. Actually, Michelle Obama, as you know, Christy, had her obesity, fighting childhood obesity initiative, and that failed miserably. Obesity actually went up, childhood obesity, through the years that Obama was in office. So that didn't succeed, and they got rid of that fitness test and that competition as well. So President Trump is bringing back the fitness test, and more details to come. Kids will be tested now in high school and elementary school, possibly push-ups, pull-ups, basic core strength like sit-ups, jogging around the track a few times, to test their cardiovascular strength. All of these things that are just so important, obviously, for this generation that sits in front of TVs and on TikTok all day long, to really just inspire them and, have role models that will actually receive presidential awards from various schools. I guess who scores the highest, which schools score the highest, to make these kids role models as well for the next generation. So really, that's what that order is about. Important to me, obviously. I come from a fitness background. I was a trainer on The Biggest Loser. I helped people lose tens of thousands of pounds of weight through the years. I was a boxer, so I know how important it is for your mental strength, even to work out, to be fit, to eat healthy, and I know that's important to you as well as a mother. So I wanted to get your thoughts on really this new executive order by the president.
Well, I think it's fantastic. I think it addresses the overall concerns of our epidemic of sedentary kids. And we can talk about what else contributes to that, in particular, this obsession and addiction to the phone. I can tell you some pointers to President Trump on addressing that aspect of it in a bit. But as you said, I thought that was an astute observation about this was kind of during the wave of like either everyone gets a medal or no one gets a medal, you know, and it was all about, oh, but self-esteem. I mean, ignoring the fact that it is sports and it is achieving and it is perseverance that actually elevates self-esteem. So I think it's just the overall theme of wanting to weaken our society, weaken our country as a whole. We've definitely seen it in the military. They had decreases of standards as far as that goes as well. And the push to integrate both men and women in the military, and then that got expanded to trans in the military, and then suddenly it was more important to have diversity, equity, and inclusion training than it was to actually get there out there and train in the battlefield. I mean, so it's just all part of the bigger schema of weakening our country as a whole, and I think that that was just something that played a part in it. But I really liked what Secretary Kennedy had to say at the White House when it came to making this announcement, and why it is such an important thing for this administration to make being healthy great again, make our children get great again, and the society and the community that they get to grow up in. So let's take a listen to what he had to say and talk more about that on the other side.
In December of 1960, a month after he won the election, my uncle, who was about to be president, wrote an article for Sports Illustrated called "The Soft American," and he was lamenting the fact that America had prided itself on its beef jerky toughness, and that we were losing that. We were falling behind Europeans. We were falling behind other nations. And he was signaling with that article that he was going to make physical fitness of our kids the centerpiece of his administration. And I'm so grateful to President Trump for bringing back this tradition. I was talking to Paul before we went in here. We were part of the Council on Physical Fitness when we were kids. And you had to do sit-ups, you had to do pull-ups, you had to do shuttle runs, you had to do 1-mile runs. And they awarded the top 15% with a patch and with recognition and with certificates. And for me, it was a huge item of pride when I was growing up. And we need to reinstill that spirit of competition and that spirit and that commitment to nutrition and physical fitness. And I'm so grateful to President Trump for your leadership in bringing this back for our country.
Yes, so great. And there's no, this whole thing on self-esteem, I mean, you know, being passionate about health, instead of taking the competition away, instead of taking awards away or the ability, because people don't want to feel uneven. I mean, it's like they ignored the science, like these people that are always like, trust the science, they ignored the science of the benefits of healthy living in general, the amount of endorphins that you get when you exercise, the balance that can happen in your body when you're eating healthy. You know, all things I'm also passionate about because I have a fitness instructor background, but I feel so far removed from all of that right now because I really let myself go, Kara, after having 5 kids. You know, I have 2 under 2 right now. At the end of the day, I know those are just excuses. I got to fit it in somewhere. But yeah, I mean, I myself can very much know and feel the difference of when I'm making exercise and healthy eating a priority, and when I'm using time and busyness of being a mom as an excuse to let those things slide. So.
For sure. And for me, you know, obviously I'm very busy, this job is incredibly busy. This is a busy White House, and I have a full life, and I do try to find obviously as much time as I can to work out. And when I do, I always feel that's when my best ideas come. That's when I'm the most clear-minded. Sometimes I almost feel like if I'm jogging, like God is like throwing ideas into my head, and everything just becomes so crystal clear. And people that work out, and specifically I think do cardiovascular work, because your mind kind of just relaxes, and I do feel like, this is just a thought I had. The intelligence agencies, the CIA, the powers that be must have done some research. They must know that people become smarter when they're physically active, because it does release all that anxiety that I think is put on us by society, by TV, by the mainstream media, by listening to these songs with all this MK Ultra in it. People are so messed up in the head. TikTok, it's such a distraction. So when you actually clear your mind of all this and you work out and you're healthy, you're less susceptible to these entities that are trying to infiltrate your brain. And I do think that the powers that be know this, and that's why they really are trying to force us to be less healthy in this country, because the less healthy the population is physically, the less healthy they are mentally and spiritually. So it's
Absolutely.
all related. And I think John Kennedy, actually, President John Kennedy and Robert Kennedy Jr. alluded to an essay, and I actually looked it up, and I am going to read it this weekend, an essay written by President Kennedy, one of the greatest presidents of all time, obviously, The Soft American, it was called, really just talking about how important it is that Americans get healthy. And he said one of the things I believe in the essay, and I encourage people to go online, read that essay: do not pray for easy lives, pray to be stronger men. Like, this is just the mentality that this real Democrat, the Democrat Party has completely gone south, and that's saying it nicely in the present day. But he said our growing softness, our increasing lack of physical fitness is a menace to our security. Like, this is a national security threat, obviously, and it has been for a very long time. The decline of physical fitness, the decline of young men and young women, and their physical fitness and their mental fitness, and these meltdowns that kids have nowadays, these absolute meltdowns. And anyone, I'm sure, that has kids, or has kids that have friends and that are in school, or even the generation in their 20s, they're just really so prone. It's very sad, to these mental breakdowns, and they don't work out. They don't leave the house ever. I have a lot of nieces and nephews with friends, and they don't spend time going outside. Some of them, for that matter, don't even drive. They take Ubers everywhere. So
Yeah.
it's a very sedentary generation, unfortunately, and that has to change, and that has to be called out. And who would have thought it would be a Republican administration to do that? This was always sort of a Democrat thing, like the granola health and fitness stuff, but I think that's completely flip-flop now,
Yeah.
especially
Well,
with Robert Kennedy Jr.
even that was even that was not honest, and we talk about that, but before I do, just as you were talking, I feel like this whole trans obsession also is embedded in this whole commentary, because it just makes me think of when they became more obsessed with identity and what do you identify in, and then introducing the hormones. I mean, that's caused so much damage on a physical level as well. You think of that that young man that was highlighted in many shows called Jazz. And it's heartbreaking to see how one of the first trans kids that was glorified and put up the heartache of this young individual, and all the weight gain, and becoming a female from the age of 6 or something crazy. So I think that that's related loosely to this as well. But I liked when we heard from Robert F. Kennedy Jr. when he was talking, and he said something about bringing back beef jerky toughness. And it's kind of funny because you think of Michelle Obama being lauded for these healthy school lunches, right? So she certainly would not have considered beef jerky a healthy snack, which I happen to think it's much healthier than other things that you could snack on. But yeah, he's getting criticized for everything he does, President Trump. But they praised Michelle Obama for her healthy school lunches, and they were arguably way less healthy than they'd ever been. Josh Rayner posted on X that when we went to this, he says, reminder that the prevalence of processed foods and school lunches actually increased from Michelle Obama. She reduced the amount of meat and dairy in the diet to be replaced with refined grain and plant-based junk foods, even banning whole milk, which you could definitely argue that that's like good fat in there, a good way to get calcium. Raw milk's even better, but that's a whole nother subject. But yeah, this was more grains, of course, and they lower calories. I mean, and it was so bland that many kids were just throwing it out and then going to the vending machine or fast food. So it really, and it resulted in less healthy kids as opposed to supposedly healthy school lunches.
Yeah, and I did a little bit of research as well on that because at the time, I wasn't really so in tune to Michelle Obama's, obesity, childhood obesity thing, even though at the time, I was working as a fitness trainer. So I kind of was like, that's pretty cool that the first lady is into making children more healthy. But looking into it in retrospect, I did some research and food was actually wasted at massive rates, which is obviously sad because people in this country are starving. But there was a study that showed that students tossed up to 60% of the vegetables because they were from cans or they were just really disgustingly made. They weren't real vegetables. 40% of the fruit, and even entrees, and the food was just so inedible. And in Boston, food waste estimated at $432,000 a year in just a few schools. Nationally, billions are likely wasted on this school lunch program. Portion sizes were too small, so children were hungry and underfueled. A viral video showed frustration over limited protein portions, which obviously Kennedy has been very outspoken that protein is important and really less focus on these poisonous grains that that we're growing in this country with all these chemicals and all this processing. So Michelle Obama really focusing on quote unquote whole grains, which has come under fire. Are whole grains really healthy? A lot of people are picking up on the fact that they might not be, and they definitely don't deserve the high position that they have on the food pyramid, as Kennedy is trying to change that. Sales and participation declined. Within the first year, some schools saw lunch participation drop by over 4%. Many reported lost revenue. Kids started bringing their own lunch or actually just using school vending machines because the stuff was so gross. And they were fake veggies, ultra processed fake veggies and competitive junk, literally not real vegetables. And the standards were just proven too hard to sustain, according to, a lot of studies that were done. So another hypocritical thing she did, which I felt like, now they get on Trump's back for, oh, Trump has a coin, or he's selling sneakers, and he's trying to monetize the presidency. Well, Michelle Obama founded a company called Plessy, and I believe it's still around. I would never buy anything, obviously, that was related in any way, shape, or form to the Obamas, but this was an alleged healthy drink, which was actually really unhealthy. And again, I have some notes here on this drink Plessy that Michelle Obama was out there touting, trying to make money from her platform as first lady, already high millionaires, the Obamas. Plessy is still around, and the interesting thing about it is it failed to meet the nutritional criteria Michelle Obama had publicly championed. So this drink that she is pushing literally failed to meet the nutritional criteria. It drew skepticism from health experts about whether it constituted real progress in kids' nutrition. And basically, there was a lot of fake stuff in there. And someone, an expert, said it was ultra processed, not necessarily any healthier than diet soda, just because of all of all the fake ingredients. And another thorn in my side, which I have been meaning to investigate more, and have tried to, and it's not transparent. It's something that I don't know if Kennedy is on top of. I hope he is natural flavors, which is in Plessy. The most it's literally like the cloud stuff that goes on in the geoengineering, unregulated, the Wild West in the sky. It's the Wild West when it comes to natural flavors, because who knows what that is? Like literally you get healthy foods and these organic foods, and the one thing in the ingredients that you don't know, there'll be 3 ingredients, then natural flavorings. And I've called various companies myself, and I'm like, what is in the natural flavoring? Because I will purchase these foods that are more expensive because they're quote unquote organic or they're more healthy. For example, Magic Spoon. The cereal, I don't know, it's always on Instagram. It's supposed to be like a protein-based cereal that's very healthy, that uses monk fruit, yet it has natural flavors in it. And I called the company and I asked for some transparency on what are natural flavors, and they just can't give an answer. They can't give an answer. From what I understand, the difference between natural and artificial flavorings is that the chemical process for artificial literally could be sky high, and natural, it's like a little bit less than artificial, but again, really not transparent. So I think that should be the next fight when it comes to food that Kennedy picks, in really more transparency and natural flavorings, which is contained in Plezzy, the bootleg drink that Michelle Obama founded and tried to market as a healthy alternative when kids should be drinking 100% fruit juice, obviously, or just eating the fruits for themselves. This drink that she's trying to capitalize on and obviously add to the fortune of her family. So, that's surprisingly still on shelves at Walmart and other various stores, and they're still making money off of that presidency, off of that failed obesity. Let's reduce childhood obesity agenda, which childhood obesity obviously has grown since Obama was in office.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a crock. I mean, it's wild how much they've been able to make bank on the worst presidency ever. But another thing that's different now, as opposed to the John F. Kennedy days, where he was talking about becoming stronger both physically and mentally, is this onset of phone dependency. And that this is something I would like the Trump administration to look at. What extra safeguards for our children can be implemented, not only for the dangers of online predators, but when it comes to how this contributes to the sedentary lifestyle. As you said, Kara, we have kids and teens, my own included, that I'm like, get out of this house. Like, go ride your bike, go do something, like get off your stupid phone, get off the TV. I mean, that's okay. And to some degree, but like, you can't spend your whole life in front of a screen, and you're certainly not getting as much exercise if you're not getting out there in the world. Like, I mean, I know I did. I was like riding my bike everywhere as a kid, and staying out until the streetlights came on was the rule, And it's just not like that for these kids. It's really heartbreaking what they're missing out on, more climbing of trees and all of those things. But to that end, I'm really happy to be living in Texas. Texas just passed a law that requires school districts to prohibit their use of their personal devices during the school day. Now, this seems like such a no-brainer. Like, why would kids be able to have phones during their school day? Like, we can't just be on our phones in most jobs. Like, for you and I, like, being on the phone is kind of a prerequisite for this job, because we need to be keeping up on the news and writing our scripts and stuff often with our phones. But for most jobs, you can't just have your phone out. So this isn't preparing them for the real world, allowing them to just have their phone out. So this is a huge thing that has passed in Texas. My personal school district has already sent out notification that kids will be not only unable to have their phones in the classroom, but they will also not be able to have their phones out during lunch or passing periods, which is wild. So hoping that this will lead to more physical activity, less dependency on the phone, and just improved mental health.
Yeah, for sure. And you could only imagine, if we keep going down this toxic route with these devices, sometimes I wish if I could hit a button and just blow up everybody's device and there's no more devices, I literally would do it, because I feel like it's such a detriment to society. Even myself, like, I'm obviously a human being. Sometimes I'll be sitting there, I'm like, I've been like scrolling through videos for an hour. What is wrong? Like, and your emotions, they go up and down. You see a sad video and you're crying, and a happy video, you're laughing, and then a video that makes you mad. It's like this emotional roller coaster. It's really, really unhealthy. And I don't know what the answer is, but I do know, I had a pretty harsh opinion of the generation of kids in their 20s, but I've been talking to them more often, and they are really good kids, and their souls sense something is very wrong. I really do believe that. And we are always talking about this generation of kids, like, in a negative sense, like these kids are, they're no hope for them, and they're completely backwards, and all of these trans kids and all of these progressive kids, but like, they're the product of our doing, our doing, meaning our generation. Like, we are to blame. Like, these kids are messed up because of us. Like, we let this happen with these devices, and with everything. And when I say we, I just mean society as a whole. Like, they are a product of society. They are victims, in my opinion. And this is the truth. And I really have reevaluated the way I view these kids, because the more I talk to them, and there's they're so depressed, and they all have some sort of quote unquote mental disorder, or they're all on some sort of drug, or they're all in some sort of therapy. You know what I mean? And it really is very, very sad. Their soul senses something is very wrong. I really do feel that way. Like they were born with iPhones in their hands. They were born attached to a pad. They were born only understanding a world with the World Wide Web and the internet. And they just know something is wrong. They don't know what it is. They can't explain it. It's almost like when someone has a panic attack and they sense that there's something dangerous, but there's no danger there. That's what a panic attack is. I feel like these kids are in constant panic because there's just something so wrong with the world right now with all of these electronic devices and everything that's so fake and fraudulent. And, you know, obviously the human soul is the human soul. It doesn't matter if it's in the year 2025 or 1776 or 1880 or the 1980s, in my opinion, the best era. But these kids know something is wrong. And there's a thing my niece was telling me about. It's called cottage core, where kids actually go online and, you know, for I guess a couple dollars they could buy a cottage, and then they live in this fantasy land where there's no Wi-Fi, and they're living in this cottage and they're away from everything and they're in nature, but it's on the computer. And I find that just to be so sad that kids have to do that because they just don't know that in real life, that they have to live that in their imagination. It's very sad.
It is very sad. And what's wild about all this is when it comes to more safeguarding of the phones and also trying to detach children and teens from the phones, what's really wild is the people that push against this the most, that push against the implementation of these new rules in school to separate children from their phones, are the parents. The parents are the ones that are raising the biggest fit about oh, well, my child needs his or her phone. I was scrolling through the comments in my own school's district, and one of the comments was from this lady, and she said, well, sometimes my daughter has panic attacks and needs to text me and to come pick her up from school, and like, how can we deal with this now? And I'm thinking, like, lady, your kid probably is having panic attacks because you're allowing her to be connected to her freaking phone all the time, you know. So it is wild that the people that are advocating for trying to get the phones away from the kids, particularly in school, are up against the parents. Wild, right?
Right. No, it's crazy. It's crazy. You know, hopefully this is a conversation that we could continue to have because, you know, again, we're completely stuck to our devices, and some people need them for their jobs. But and I'm sure you remember days before, and I find that I was much happier back then, and the people around me were as well, and we had more human connections, obviously, and I think that people were more loyal to each other. Like now we have this divide between Democrats and Republicans and black and white and male and female and trans and non-trans. Like there's all these divides that didn't exist before these devices. And I do feel like these devices are programming the people to hate each other when in reality, and I'll say it again and again, you know, it's the government, the people. I would love to see the Democrats and the Republicans once and for all say we've had enough, you know, and go up against the deep state. But that's exactly what they don't want us to do. And the devices, in my opinion, are their little propaganda machines they keep attached at each and every one of our hips to keep us completely hypnotized and programmed. Christy.
Yeah, absolutely. We didn't even dive into the whole EMF radiation element of these things either, that we have never dug into. But Kara, it looks like our time for DC Live is coming to an end. I've got an episode of DC Dispatch, really a best of clips since I was on assignment in this show today, coming up next. So keep it locked in here to LindellTV White House coverage, and we'll be seeing you more later throughout the day. Happy Friday.
Thank you, Christy.